The bell is tolled 10 times for Hana Kimura and Chad Gaspard. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Entering Reality Live on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, in your podcast listening feed of choice if you prefer the audio only experience. I, of course, am your host, Josh Justice. I'm joined once again today by Jamie Loves Taker, who is back after not being able to be with us any last week. So, Jamie, I would ask, how are you? But considering the somber topic of today's episode, I think I already know the answer. But if you want to say how you are.
I mean, I'm fine. I mean, I'm sad, obviously, for the amount of loss that the wrestling community has had, and just just everything that's going on this year with the amount of deaths, not only from COVID, but a lot of things unrelated to COVID. Just car crashes and plane crashes and suicides, and I should have said trigger warning for that word, but for drownings and things like that. There have been lots of horrible things that have happened. So basically, this year sucks, and we need to fast forward to 2021 because I've had enough of 2020.
I
2020
completely,
is canceled.
completely 100% agree. 2020 is canceled. But, and I did not mean to laugh. That was just a really funny way that Jamie put that. But no, in all seriousness, I titled the stream today, or the show, I should say, because again, I don't want to exclude those of you who prefer the audio only experience. I titled the show "Rest in Peace" to Hannah, but I also said words matter because when we start off talking about her death, she took her own life, and
Trigger. Wait, hold on. Before I say trigger warning, I should have said that before I said the S word. But if you are triggered by these types of topics, and they're very, very heavy topics, especially the way that she went out, she took her own life, and we're about to get into topics related to that and related to the topics of, warning, warning, warning on the word of suicide. So if you do not want to hear topics like that, do not listen to this.
right, yeah,
Skip forward.
yeah. Well, I'll try to put a timestamp in the description afterwards, after we're done with the live portion of the show, for you can skip forward to like the standard wrestling topics, because we will get into that just a little bit today. It has to be a little bit shorter show for me today because, of course, we are back tomorrow with the AEW Double or Nothing review with Fort Minor Project, but that also means that I have to be done streaming in time to be able to watch the AEW show. It's a couple hours away from the time we're recording, but I also have time to edit the audio version as well. So I don't know how long we're gonna go, but just a little bit of heads up with that. But yeah, this whole story with Hannah is very, very sad because depression is no joke. And I say that as somebody who suffers from it, who battles it every day. It's not easy to be a demon that you battle. And when you have bullying thrown at you on top of that, it's just like, I don't think people realize that words matter. And that's why I titled this show what I titled it today, because you never know what kind of impact what you say is going to have on people. So, just in general, before we get into actually her state of mind as all this was happening, you, as your career right now, Jamie, work with kids. Tell us from your perspective how people aren't aware of those kind of challenges in everyday life.
Well, I mean, words really do hurt a person. You know the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I don't think that's really true because no matter who you are, you could be a celebrity, You could be just a regular person. You could be anybody. Words do really hurt, and people try to put on a brave face and say, "Oh no, it doesn't hurt." No matter what you or a YouTuber that you watch go, "Oh, it doesn't bother me anymore." It still does bother them. Some things that people say do bother them, which is why they don't read the comments anymore after a certain extended amount of time. So, like the first 20 minutes, they might look at the comments, but then after that, it gets mean. And a lot of wrestlers don't read their replies and stuff sometimes because of, some of the hate. And it's like your words do have an impact on them. And even people in the limelight have feelings too. They're not robots. You're not screaming at a television. A TV doesn't have feelings. So, and the younger you are, you imagine how much mental damage it is to work with, not to work with, but to be that young. Bullying, there are kids as young as elementary school that take their own life because they can't handle the amount of bullying. A child should not, I mean, nobody should feel that where they have to end their own life. But a child, there's still lots of bullying in school. There's kids make fun of each other, they say things, and it starts young, and then people bring it online. And now that we're in the world of technology, we have the internet, and people can be anonymous. It's someone who works in any field. It's hard to battle bullying and things like that. And some places don't take it seriously, and then you end up with someone taking their own life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to get into this now. So again, just to reiterate what we said before, if this makes you uncomfortable in any way, there'll be a time stamp hopefully down below in the description on whatever platform you experience the show on if you're not here live, or you'll be able to skip over this. So with that being said, here is the article from our friends over at Wrestle Talk. It is with deep sadness that we report that Stardom wrestler Hana Kimura has passed away at the age of 22. The promotion confirmed her passing with a statement on Twitter, which roughly translates to Stardom fans, we are very sorry to report that Hana Kimura has passed away. Please be respectful and allow some time for things to process and keep your thoughts and prayers with her family and friends. We appreciate your support during this difficult time. This story then goes on to explain that Kimura had been in a reality TV show on Netflix, Japanese Netflix, and apparently she was bullied from an incident on that show where she was angry at someone for accidentally shrinking tights that she had worn as part of Wrestle Kingdom 14 for New Japan and Stardom this past year in January. And obviously, those tights were that outfit was very important to her. And so she was very upset by it ruined. But instead of the person that accidentally ruining the outfit becoming very understanding of that importance to her, they made fun of her. They called her a child, called her baby, called her a waste of space. And apparently that incident just sort of triggered other things going on in her mind to the point to where she had said a few things on Twitter, which I will not read because even though we're talking about this subject, I think that's like way too much of a gray area. Like I don't want to give
Trigger.
anybody any reason to feel those kind of feelings. But the gist of it is that she said that she didn't want to be here anymore. And it's in a series of tweets, she escalated it to the point to where she said she didn't want to be here anymore. And then the news came out that she was officially gone. So in a week where we've already had the death of the former Crime Time member Shad Gaspard from drowning while on vacation with his son and putting his own son's life first and going on in such a heroic way, it just feels like it's the two opposite ends of the spectrum. I mean, one death you can kind of look at and kind of be sad, but also kind of rejoice because he was so selfless and so giving in the end. But then you have this death where she had her whole career ahead of her, despite unofficially starting at 12 years old and her mother's promotion, and officially starting at 17. So she'd already been wrestling for a number of years, but 22 years old, she had her whole life and her whole career ahead of her. And for her, she felt like she needed to not be here anymore. So it's so hard to even fathom. Like we talked about as we were prepping, about how for both of us, Jamie, we can't fathom ever being in that mindset because thankfully we've never had to be. And it just makes me so sad when someone gets to that point and feels that way. So again, that's why I reiterate, be careful what you say and realize that words do matter because you might think that you're just poking fun at someone, but in the process, you might be deeply hurting someone to the point to where they have no repairing from it.
You know something too? If you see something, say something. So if somebody is threatening, now I want to say threatening, but if someone you notice signs of suicide, please try to get them help. Reach out to them, talk to them. There is training on how to prevent suicide. So do something. If you see something, say something. Do anything. Talk to that person. Reach out to that person. If you know her personally, say something. You know, there are, like I'm saying, I got trained for suicide. So, I mean, I could, if I see something like that, I could go and talk to people who are feeling like that. Please, if you're feeling like that, reach out, go seek professional help because suicide is never the answer. And this poor girl was feeling so alone that she felt like her only answer was to take her own life. And I don't think it was, I know what you meant, but I don't think it was two opposite ends of the spectrum. I think you meant in a way like just, one was heroic and one was just tragic. But I think that they were both equally tragic. And I just feel bad because she's so young and she had her whole life ahead of her. Not that Shad was extremely old, because he wasn't old either. He was only 39. He has a kid. I know. But anyways, if you see something, say something. If someone's threatening someone, if someone is saying something violent, posting violent stuff, please report them. Like not Twitter report them or the little icons on Instagram. I mean like actually report them to police, report, just do something. I mean, it's not her fault that she took her own life. Her brain was in such a state of mind that her she had to end her life, and that's unfortunately not the answer. So please, see if you see something, say something. There is no answer. It's not you, it's really them. They are miserable people. And I know not everybody who's a bully, has some tragic life. Some people are just horrible and mean, but it is still them, and they're just miserable, horrible people. So block them and report them. But yeah, that's what I want to say. It's just so sad. I'm so sad that all these deaths are happening and the wrestling community has lost so many people. And it's like one tragic death, one after the other. And then we have all this COVID stuff. And with Shad, it's just so tragic to me because I mean it was very heroic. The last thing he said was save my son. I mean that made me bawl my eyes out. That made me bawl hearing the news.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean I'm sad when anybody dies, any, especially just talking about wrestling. I'm sad when any wrestler dies, and some celebrity deaths and wrestlers affect me and hit me more than others. I would have to say Shad's hit me really hard. Not that others didn't really hit me hard. Natty's father's death hit me really hard. Eddie's death. All the legends that recently that died. Like, well, Macho Man Randy Savage died. Like, Ultimate Warrior, all these people died. That made me really sad, even though those wrestlers weren't for my generation. Well, I mean, Eddie was, but anyways. And then I think what affected me with the suicide so much is Chester killed himself as well. And back in 2017 in the summer, and it's like I think that's why her death affected me so much, because that's the way Chester died as well. And then Shad, I keep thinking about over and over and over again in my head how he died. It's not like, which would have been sad either way. It's not like he died of old age or he died in his sleep or he's been sick for a while and he passed away. Like, he drowned, and that's just an awful way to die. And uh, it's just incredibly sad, this whole situation. Like, another thing is, before we knew that he had officially passed, somebody missing has to be the worst imaginable feeling in the world, because you don't know what has happened, period. You don't know if they're alive, you don't know if they're dead. If they are dead, you just don't know. You don't have a proper burial, and then you need time to breathe. But if they are alive, they could be out there suffering somewhere, they could be held captive somewhere. For all we know, he could have been floating out in the ocean for days before we figured out that he had in fact probably died the day that he went missing. But there are families out there that their loved ones have been missing for decades and they have had zero answers. There are people who, loved ones that are lost at sea, and they don't know what has happened. So there's no closure for them. They can't even give them a proper burial. So at least with Shad, there is closure. The family can now give him a proper burial, and they know what has happened. Because I would imagine those 3 days, how horrible it must feel to not know, because they're not dead or alive. So can you imagine, Raz, the not knowing? That must be worse than actually losing somebody. That must be
Oh,
such a horrible feeling, not knowing.
oh, absolutely. I mean, the horror, the literal horror of not knowing what happened, and could they be, or could he be, in this case, out somewhere at sea, floating out there helpless. Or in the case of other tragedies in the past, just never being able to find the body. Like, I think not knowing is almost worse than knowing. Like, I would rather know immediately if something happened to my loved one rather than have to be
Because you
sitting
can
there
breathe.
wondering. Yes, yes, exactly. You can grieve right away. And everything you said is just like so on point. And we had just talked about, I believe, I could be wrong because you and I have so many conversations, but I believe, hadn't we just talked about a few weeks back, like, I wonder what Crime Time is up to before all this went down?
Yep.
And now to have this come out the way that it has, like, you can say what you want to say, and those opinions are very valid, by the way. If you have opinions about the gimmick was bad, it shouldn't have happened, it's very stereotypical, but for their time period, Crime Time was extremely entertaining, and they were very much over. And when they
They
were
had
on,
funny stuff with DX, Vince, that stuff with John Cena. Weren't they Crime Time C Nation at one point?
yes, they were,
But
they
then
were,
John Cena got hurt, I think.
yeah, they were the Chain Gang with John Cena. Yeah,
But people, yeah, that's what I thought. And I also just want to say, like, a lot of us looking back on Crime Time, I'm not saying anybody watching or listening now is extremely old, but a lot of us with Crime Time were a lot younger. Like, I was in middle school during Crime Time, so my middle school self thought it was so funny. Not to say that I don't want to jump on his bandwagon. I'm not saying that Shadow was my favorite wrestler of all time or my favorite tag team of all time, but I liked their stuff. They were funny. They were a funny tag team. It was a joy to have them come out. I mean, if you didn't like them, that is totally fair. But Shad and JTG were probably the nicest guys. I've never really heard anybody say anything bad about the two of them. You know how there's always drama. There's like a few select people that don't have drama. And I mean, most of the wrestlers are very kind people, but t- I've never heard anything bad about Shad. And the stuff was funny, and stuff with DX, and they could have done so much more the with John Cena, but I think he got hurt. And also, yeah, we Raz, you are right. I'm not quite sure when that conversation happened, but we did have a conversation about, oh, what happened to this wrestler? We were like, oh, what has Evan Bourne been up to? Way before John Morrison came out, we are like, oh, what is John Morrison up to these days? What is this person up to? Oh, remember this wrestler? Remember this, referee? We're just having conversations, and then COVID happened, and then we were going to ask again. We were like, "Oh, let's check up on JT, not JT, Shad, and everybody." And just when I kind of like wasn't up to date totally on what Shad was doing, I logged onto Twitter and saw the news about how he was missing, and I was like, "Oh my gosh! Please tell me this is not real. Please tell me it's not real." And unfortunately, it is.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah, it
Raz.
is.
Continue.
And no, I was just agreeing with you. I mean, and it's just the way that he went. Drowning is such a horrible, horrible, painful way to die. I mean, we always say, and that was your first reaction to me over iMessage is like, I hope he didn't suffer. And that's your first reaction to any death is you hope they didn't suffer. But when it comes to drowning, it's impossible not to suffer. But the fact that he knew that ending was going to come, like that's what I can't stop thinking about. And that's what I'm so proud of. And that's why I classify it as a heroic death as well as a tragic one, because I can't get past the fact that he had to know that he was going to drown, but his only concern was his son. His final words, as we mentioned earlier, were save my son.
Oh,
And that,
Oh, Raz. And guess what? Sorry to keep interrupting you, but Shad, just to see the type of person he was, I mean, that alone with saving his son, I think, really sums up what kind of person he is or was. But Shad stopped an armed robbery. There's a clip of him body slamming a robber, and people reading Shad's story about saving his son, people think it's fake because it literally does sound like stuff out of a movie. So does him body slamming a robber. Like that is literally stuff that you see out of a movie, and like people are like, well, yeah, he's a wrestler. Of course he would do. Of course he would body slam. And I'm just like, he really did body slam people, or at least the robber. And I just was like mind blown. This is the type of guy, and these type of people that are in wrestling. I mean, and it's such a shame. There are good people dying. I just so sad for everyone. Shad literally just died, and now with her, and she took her own life. It's just not a good year. Not a good year.
not a good year at all. But I was going to bring up the armed robbery thing as I was continuing my thoughts. So we were on the same wavelength there. Like that story, every time I see that clip, you put it perfectly. This feels like something that somebody was like, "Oh, let's just go get a former wrestler and write like a crazy, funny scene
Actually,
for a TV show or a movie," because it doesn't feel real. It, you know what it feels like? It feels like somebody said, "Okay, we cast a former wrestler here. What can we do to showcase their talents and make people laugh? Oh, I know. Let's have somebody pretend to rob a store and let's have the wrestler choke the guy out." That's what it feels like every time I see that clip. But no, it's actually something that happened. He body slammed an armed robber with a gun to the point where he out wrestled a gun, literally. And it's just, I don't mean to laugh at it, but I think it's okay to be, have happy memories as well. It's just one of those things that I look back on it and I'm like, of course he did that. Because I think you brought it up earlier. No, you did bring it up earlier. I'm sorry. you did bring it up earlier, where you mentioned Chad's one of those people. Like every once in a while, you hear stories about a wrestler not getting along with people all the time, or a wrestler being grumpy backstage or grumpy toward the fans. And even though those stories are very few and far between, they do exist. But Shad was one of those people that you never heard a bad story about. He always had such a light to him, and everybody that ever
Everybody knows
interacted with
him.
him said he was like the best guy in the world.
Yeah, everyone knew him and loved him. The Rocks tweeted about him. John Cena posted something about him on Instagram, I think it was, just a picture of him, and everybody knew him. AJ talked about him on his stream. He didn't know him as well. He met him once, but I just talked about he was just a nice guy and how every one of us was holding out hope, even if there was like really not a chance that he was alive. All of us was holding out hope like that he was just floating on a branch somewhere, or you know how around beaches there's sometimes like just other beaches around where you are. We're hoping maybe he floated to another beach or he got washed up on another beach. Because there are people who go under the water and then wash up on shore alive. And there's actually many stories where people get lost in forests, on mountains, out in the middle of ocean. They survive for months out there. So we were hoping Shad would have a story like that, that he would be floating out in the middle of somewhere, or we were hoping up some fishermen picked him up, because that's how a lot of these people are found. Like they're accidentally picked up by, someone out fishing, or carrying cargo or something. So I'm hoping, oh, maybe someone who doesn't really, maybe he floated really far out and it's somebody that might not speak English and might not know who he is, and maybe it found him and didn't call 911 yet, or I don't know, someone found him and he's safe. But unfortunately that wasn't the case, and I wish it was. I wish that rip currents didn't exist, period, and that something like this could never happen.
100% agree. And I am looking at the clock and realizing that if we're going to get anything else, that I kind of got to get the conversation moving here. But before we get off, Chad, I do have to ask you, do you have a favorite Crime Time memory? Because I just thought of my favorite Crime Time promo as we're talking. So I can get into mine, but I want to offer it to you first if you can think of one.
Yes, can I just say, what is the other female wrestler we were just talking about? I don't know her as well. I haven't seen her stuff, but from seeing her pictures, she seems like was a kind person, and I just feel bad, just speaking about wrestling. She's a part of the wrestling family, so I feel really bad. I feel any bad for anyone taking their own life or passing away. But anyways, getting back to Shad, which his oh my gosh, his death hit me really hard. Even but I would have to say one of my favorite memories with Shad. Do you remember the segment with DX?
Which one? Because there was a few.
The one where they're outside, like dealing, like they're trying to. I think it was one where DX was trying to get back into the arena, but they
Oh
couldn't.
yes, 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 yes,
That one.
yes. That that's
They
a
were
great one.
selling the tickets, and there was another one where he was dancing around JTG, and then was dancing around Vince and going, "Money, money, yeah, yeah,
That's
money, money,
that
yeah, yeah, money."
that was my favorite one that I was about to bring up. That's the one that I remember the most, was like them putting like a sideways hat on Vince, and getting everybody but Vince to do the money, money, yeah, yeah. Like Coach was there, and Teddy Long was there,
Yeah, oh, that
and they
was
were
so
all
funny.
going
They're
around in a circle around Vince, and Vince just had this look on his face like, what the hell is going on?
I know. The money, yeah, yeah. That was really funny though. It's
Yeah,
nice
it
to
was.
catch up on old stuff like that.
It was great. It was that's great. And I love their music too. Like the way their music started. Again, you know, it might be stereotypical or whatever, but it worked. Like yo 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 yo, like that was like when you heard that, that was well, you know that's crime time because who else would it be? It just
I know.
worked.
Also, I just want to say I feel really bad for his 10-year-old kid and his friends and family, especially the little kid. And I feel bad for JTG. Like, they were very close. But, oh, JTG has been sharing a lot of funny stuff with Chad, and that's what I think we should be doing. You know, not necessarily harping on how they died, which I mean, it's hard not to, but sharing memories like that because they are so funny.
There,
Even the rest, even what's the female wrestler again? Hannah.
Hannah, yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought. I just didn't want to botch her name or anything. I'm just
yeah,
not so familiar with her, but yeah, share good memories with her too, and funny memories of Shad, and just the money, yeah, yeah thing is now stuck in my head. The
yeah,
money, yeah, yeah,
yeah. I could, we could watch
yeah.
clips of them forever, which is what we want to do. But yes, if you are familiar with Hannah's work, you know, share that around as well. I unfortunately only ever saw one match of hers, but I feel lucky now to have seen that one match because there's a lot of people like you who didn't even get to see her work, and now she's gone. So it's just such a sad, tragic thing. But I do, you were not here for any of our shows last week, whether that was the normal show or the Becky Lynch special that I had the day after the normal show. So, of course, me being me, and of course, the show's logo being what it is, I have to get your thoughts on the incredible news that Becky and Seth are expecting their first child. What was your reaction to that, and how does that make you feel?
I was actually pretty surprised. I'm not saying that she wasn't going to get pregnant because I'm sure there are a lot of females out there that want to have a family and have kids. But I wasn't expecting it maybe so soon. But I mean, it doesn't really matter what I think because it's her choice and her body. So if that's what she wants, and it might have been unexpected, and but either way, that's just a blessing, and I'm happy for her. You know, I personally don't want kids, but I'm very happy for Becky that she is having a child and happy to Seth too. So yeah,
Absolutely. It's a wonderful thing, and as I said on past programs, if there was ever a reason to step away from something that you love, that is the best possible reason to be having a family. So I'm thrilled for her, and I'm going to be a little sad because she's not around on my screen, but I'm going to be focused on the happy because it's just very very happy news. So what was
and
your
you can
take?
follow her on social media and stuff anyway. So it's not like you won't totally not be up to date on what she's doing.
Yes, and because she's no longer worried about maintaining the main character, she's a lot more active on social media. Yours truly got another like from her right after the news happened, after I posted my thank you video to them on Instagram, and she just wished another fellow deadly happy birthday on Twitter about 3 hours ago or something like that. So I think she's gonna be around as much as she can be because she's gonna miss us as much as we miss her. I, I fully believe that as well. So, what was your big takeaway from Raw this week? I think you have to talk about Austin Theory leaving Selena Vega and joining the Monday Night Messiah and becoming the newest disciple. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely paid more attention on Raw and on SmackDown this week uh, with certain storylines and things. No, that was different, and I don't think really saw it coming. You know, it was different.
It's great, and I think the sky's the limit for Austin. And then SmackDown, like oh my gosh, AJ Styles is back on
Yeah.
SmackDown full time, and he had it wasn't the Wrestle Kingdom 10 match. Don't get me wrong, but it was the best match that AJ and Shinsuke Nakamura have had since the two have been in WWE together. I mean, it was
I wasn't
amazing match
expecting the
last
match
night.
to be. Oh, sorry. I wasn't expecting it to be on at 8:30. I thought it was going to be the last match, but Shinsuke's great, AJ's great, and I really was looking forward to SmackDown. And honestly, I've always looked forward more to SmackDown than Raw. I've always liked SmackDown. I mean, of course, when they moved back to being live again, but sometimes I lose more interest in Raw than I do SmackDown, even though I watch them every week and I want to see certain guys and girls on there. But also about AJ, I love AJ on SmackDown. I love AJ on there, and I really love the atmosphere that SmackDown has, and I love AJ on that atmosphere or in that atmosphere. I'm so happy that he's back on SmackDown. Raj, you can tell them how I wanted him back on SmackDown since he first went to Raw.
Yeah,
I
we,
wanted him.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted him on.
You were not a fan of that move, and honestly, neither was I. But at the time, it was like he's done everything he can do on SmackDown. But now look at SmackDown. Daniel Bryan's active again. Which, by the way, if things keep going the way they're going, it looks like the finals of the Intercontinental Title tournament is going to be Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. Like, just wrap your head
Perfect.
around that for a second. Just wrap your head around that for a second. So
That's
you've got
amazing. We've got some like dream matches on here: Shinsuke and AJ and WWE again, Daniel and AJ. Oh, brilliant! I'm just really happy AJ's back on SmackDown. I mean, now he can start saying this is the house that AJ Styles built again.
yeah, which he already did
Yeah,
in
I know.
a
I'm saying more.
WWE.com exclusive. Yes. Yes,
And
you can say
since it might be, oh sorry, it might be leading to what, AJ versus Taker again, because he keeps mentioning him and the two of them on SmackDown together. Oh my god, because SmackDown is both of their lanes. So
Taker
I love it.
Taker going to SmackDown. I mean, Fox must be like, this is what we bought WWE for. Because if they
Now,
get Taker on SmackDown, man, talk about moving the needle
all right, so
up.
and continue what you were saying before I accidentally interrupted you.
No, that's what I was saying, was that the plate is continuing to spin between AJ and Taker, which is great. And just the fact that you look at the SmackDown roster now, you've got the new SmackDown 6 basically. You've got AJ, you've got Daniel Bryan, you've got Shinsuke Nakamura, you've got Sami Zayn when he comes back, and now you've got, did I say, no, I lost track of what all my numbers were. But what I was saying was, you look at this talent, and there's so much over there for AJ to really sink his teeth into and have great matches with. And the other thing I think that gets
I want
lost,
I want AJ to win the IC title. But if not,
I
there's a couple other people on there that I would love for them to also win it. But AJ's never won it, so I want him to win it. And then
I
feud with Taker, and then face each other in a match when there's a crowd. But go ahead,
I
continue.
I,
I also
I
have to eat dinner, so can you continue the rest?
yes. We'll let you go. That was basically what I wanted to cover on today's show, was just the big takeaways, and just to tell everybody that this is the way the weekend shows are going to be, because we are going to start doing reviews after every show. At first, I didn't want to do that, but you all have asked for it as this show has grown. So I'm happy to bring it to you, because more content is never a bad thing. So, Jamie, remind everybody where they can find you online in case they like to hear it and not read the description.
Okay. Sorry if I interrupted you. I just wanted to say things before I left. And also, I just didn't want to leave you hanging. Also, my fan page on Instagram for AJ and Taker is Phenomenal Phenom. My main Instagram is Jamie Loves Undertaker. My Twitter and Snapchat is Jamie Loves Taker. And I'm going to eat dinner. So, see ya.
Bye. And yeah, for me, everybody, I just want to quickly mention NXT, because I didn't mention NXT yet. The big takeaway from NXT this week was that Ciampa and Cross, as well as Gargano versus Lee, are official for NXT Takeover in Your House. So I'm so excited and so thrilled about that. I can't even tell you how forward I am looking to how much I am looking forward to. Sorry, got a little tongue tied there. To both of those matches is just going to be unreal. And I do have to point out that during the AEW Double or Nothing predictions that I had yesterday, I accidentally forgot to give you guys a winner. I gave predictions as to who I thought the mystery man might be, but I didn't give you guys and girls a winner. So my winner for that match, based on who I think is in it and who I don't know the mystery man will for sure be, is Darby Allin. And then two of the matches have changed. I talked about it during the predictions. It looked like two of the matches were in doubt because of injuries on Dynamite. Well, both of those participants, being Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Ray Phoenix, are both out of their respective matches. So in the now match that is Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford, I'm now going with Chris Statlander. And in the match that is now featuring Joey Janela in the Casino Battle Royal buy-in ladder match. So that is what's happening there. Joey Janela has taken Ray Phoenix's spot. So that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you as always for supporting us on YouTube and Facebook, whether you watch live or after the fact. Thank you as always for checking this podcast out through our podcast host Anchor or on your preferred podcast listening app of choice. Be sure to be in touch with the show. It's at In Ring Reality everywhere, including Instagram. I mentioned it on the last episode that I would have Instagram ready probably by the next show. So it is ready to go. So just find us at In Ring Reality everywhere. And then all of our personal information for myself and everybody that is on the show, of course, will be down below in the description. It's just at Josh Rosowskis or at Deadly Becky Lynch is the GOAT for me. So, as I always like to say, life. Oh, one other thing before I sign out. Sorry, almost forgot. Tomorrow, of course, will be the AEW Double or Nothing 2 or AEW Double or Nothing 2020, the 1 year anniversary show of the official All Elite Wrestling Company. That's happening tonight. So the review for that will be tomorrow. And David Rivera, Fort Minor Project, the host of In the Hot Seat podcast, will be back here with me doing that show in a crossover event. So look forward to that. And now, as I always like to say, life is only as good as what you choose to make it to be. So make the choice to go out and do something great today.